Welcome, everyone. We are live and it's Thursday. I really did think it was Friday. And I was like, wait a minute. It is Thursday. So here we are at Thursday. Any problem has a solution. Any problem has a solution. You know where we get stuck? Trying to figure out how it could possibly work. We're trying to figure out the exact way that this thing would work. And you see, we are limited, in the fact that we can only see so many solutions. Remember that scene in Avengers when Doctor Strange was looking through, he was scanning through all of the possibilities and only found one? Because we're trying to figure out well, how could it possibly play itself out? How? Our concern, because remember, we don't make things happen. We choose, and the choice, which is the cause, has an effect. And the way that effect plays out is up to the effect. And you see, it's not random. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Now, the way that effect expresses itself, you do play a role in that. Well, what is the level of intensity? Remember the principle of rhythm. The principle of rhythm tells you there's an ebb and there's a flow, but it compensates, which means it's going to have to match. Well, we already know that everything has to match, do we not? The principle of correspondence tells us as within, so without. Not part of what is within and half of what is without. No, as within, so without. So any problem, and people say to me, well, what about this problem? What about that problem? You see that part right there when people say, uh, yeah, well, you can't go and become no football player and you're only 4 foot whatever. And I'm like, but that's not what they want. You see, necessity, where you are at the time, is what brings about the need. So if being a football player is not in your whatever, it's not in your mind, it's just not what you think about, not what you want to be, why would you say, well, maybe I'd like to be a football player? No. Rhythm compensates. Whatever that thing is that you have a desire for, that is where you will live from. Because it's that thing. So it's not like it's, because you know how some people say to you, yeah, well, that's not possible. Well, I've wanted blah, 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 blah. I've wanted this, I've wanted that. Yeah, you may have wanted them, but you see, there's something called necessity, where that true prayer comes from that's within you. You know, if you are walking down the street or you're driving and there's that desire within you to accomplish a particular thing, those desires are not random. The desires that come from you are not random, they are born from you. As I told you the other day, the story with the light bulb and the candle. Necessity is the mother of invention. Listen to that saying, necessity, meaning the thing that you truly needed, you brought it about. So, it doesn't matter what the problem is, it has a solution. Remember, there are no voids. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. As within, so without, as above, so below. Right? So there's not going to be a problem without a solution. So what's the solution? It depends on the problem. Every problem has the seed of the solution within it. So identify the problem. You can see it clear as day. You're not being asked to solve it. You're asked to know that every problem has a solution. And here's how you determine that solution by asking yourself, oh, well, here's my problem. What would I be doing if it was solved? That's what you answer. What would you be doing if it were solved? How would you be living if it were solved? That is the solution. How you would be living if your problem were solved is the solution. And so that solution now will begin to show itself. And you and I, we just get to walk along like we're doing it, right? We get to walk along in this world like we are the ones doing it. When in actuality, that is not the case. The problem, you saw it, and then you said, what would I be doing if my problem were solved? And you start to see all of these things in your mind's eye as to what you could possibly be doing. You see, the possibilities are endless, but one of them is going to stand out to you the most. Only one of them will stand out to you. Why will it stand out to you? Because it is the most relatable one. It is the most natural feeling one there is. So it's not that it's just any problem. It is any of your problems. Because problems are relative as well to the person who is living that situation right here, right now. If it's snowed outside and you've got a shovel, you have to shovel the walkway, but you don't have a shovel. What's your problem? You don't have a shovel. Because right where you are right now is what is expressing the need or the desire. But sometimes when people be who they are and try to tell you, yeah, well, what about this one? What about that one? Yeah, I'm only concerned with your present problem, yours, not the hypothetical problem. Because we don't live by way of hypothetical things. We have an experience right here, right now. And so the level of intensity is what I was saying to you about the principle of rhythm. If you are impassioned about something, well, that's how you're going to do it because you always have to match. There's that saying we have, keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. You know? Does this make sense? Because we, as people, we quote unquote try to figure out how to solve it. Think about this. They tell you when you're doing a business, they tell you to solve someone's problem. Yes? This is how you will become successful, they tell you. If you can solve a problem that many people are having. That's what they tell you. Solve it. We don't solve it. We choose We make a choice and then it plays itself out. It plays itself out. And we follow along the way it plays itself out. So the next time you are face to face with your particular problem, to solve it, ask yourself, how would I be living my life if my problem were solved? What would I be doing if my problem were solved? And clearly you can answer that. Well, I'd be living like dot, dot, dot. So if you can see what you would be living like, well, then you solve the problem. Because the way through it is to see what you would be doing, because that is the solution. Remember, this is why it is always important to acknowledge the problem, not dwell or harp or complain or judge the problem. Acknowledge it, because when you look at it, the solution is right there. Where's the solution? The solution is, what would you be doing if this problem were solved? That's the solution. What would you be doing? And now that you've answered the question, what you would be doing if your problem were solved, do you not feel the relief that it brings you when you answer that question? Do you not feel it? Your body says, ooh, yes, child, that's exactly what I'd be doing. And I would do it like this. Maybe I would do it like that. Oh, but I would do it, wouldn't I? Oh, yes. And you begin to get all hyped up and excited. Do you know why? Because the body registers the truth of that situation. That's why we don't deal in hypotheticals, because the hypothetical, to you, you don't believe the hypothetical. And some people say, well, you got to trick your mind. Do what now? Trick your mind? Oh my goodness, bless your heart. We don't trick our minds. Hello? You have to comprehend what the mind is. Your mind is your awareness of your very existence. You can't trick I am. So, no, you don't trick yourself. You answer the question. What would I be doing if my problem were solved? And when you answer that, that is the truth, is it not? It's the truth. And so, with the truth, you believe that. But you see, the principles are so beautiful. They don't ask you to believe in them, they ask you to apply them. Why? Because then you will know. So today, there's many people, and we all think we all have a problem, right? And they say, well, no two problems are alike. Really? Just simply answer the question. What would I be doing if this problem were solved? And the moment that you can tell me what you'd be doing, do you know what you're doing there? You are becoming the cause of this solution. And when you become the cause, what happens? Well, every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. So that tells you that the problem is solved. Oh, but I can't see it yet, Angela. Well, you did see it. Where did you see it? In your mind's eye. So now that it is in your mind's eye, remember, as within, so without. You see it within, it makes you feel a particular way. You see, when we feel in our bodies, we've set down a neurological pathway in our brains. Because feeling has that power to just, repetition will set down a neurological pathway in your brain. Yes, it will. Rote memory, repetition, it will set down a neurological pathway in your brain, a memory. But you see, feeling something will set down that pathway instantaneously. And when you set down a pathway, period, whether it be instantaneous or incremental, when you set down a pathway in your brain, you live it out. With tie your shoes. That's a pathway in your brain. Drive your car. That is a pathway in your brain because you had to learn. And when you learn to do something, you form a neurological pathway so that you will do that thing the same way every time. So, that solution, may you say, what would I be doing if my problem were solved? You see it, don't you? Now feel it. And the funny thing is, you don't have to force yourself to feel a single thing. You don't have to force yourself to feel anything. Do you? It's either you feel it or you do not. But we don't force ourselves. We get into the mood and then we feel what it is we want to feel because the mood is the cause and the feeling is the effect. So you see today, my beautiful friends, your problem has a solution. Yeah, but Angela, how? By asking yourself the question. Well, how is asking this question and answering it going to bring about the solution? Because when you answer the question, you're not drawing it out of thin air. You're drawing it from within yourself. Oh, sometimes I feel like I'm hollering at you. My apologies. I get a little excited. Let me rein it in a little for you. The reason why we think it is challenging is because we want to figure out how. When you put a seed in the ground, when you put your garlic in the ground, all we know is that garlic likes it cold, not freezing, but cool, Eh? So you plant it in the fall and you cover it with leaves to trap the warmth. That's what you do. I don't have an infrared camera. But as sure as the day is long, I can tell you the garlic is growing. How do I know it's growing? Listen, I have garlic in the yard that I haven't even planted, but it grows. I cannot tell you how because I cannot see it through the dirt, but I know that it grows. I know that it does. But you see, we as people, we want to know the how. Well, how is that going to work? Let me see. Show me how that's going to work, and then I'll believe you. Listen, when sperm meets egg, all we know is 10 months later, wah, wah, that's all we know. How? Sperm met egg. And because sperm met egg, life happens. Ta-da! That's all we know. But the scientists will tell you, well, at week this happens, at week that, this happens, at week this, that happens, because we want to know how, instead of just going along for the ride. It is the how that drives one mad, trying to figure it out. You don't waste your time figuring it out. You know that it happens. Because every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. So if you know that, Well, then, this is why you employ yourself to answer the question, what would I be doing if my problem were solved? And you engage yourself in that mental activity of what you would be doing. And then what happens from there? Well, you set down a neurological pathway inside your brain. So now you have to act. The neurological pathway is the pathway you take to act. If something happens to you, like when you see a lot of these rehab videos, like physical rehabilitation, where they lost the ability to walk or to speak or something else, and they have to learn how to do it again. Why is that? Because the original pathway that was there, the original neurological pathway that was there is gone. It has been damaged, it is gone. But the beautiful thing is this: you can make a new pathway. You can make a new pathway by practicing the thing you want to do. So they go to rehab and they think it's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. No, every time you put one foot in front of the other, you're forming a neurological pathway in your brain so that sooner or later you won't have to go to rehab anymore, but now you'll be walking. It is exactly the same process, quote unquote, manifestation is. Manifestation is just a word. But what does manifestation imply? It implies that what is within, you will see on the outside. Now, here's how it's not far-fetched. When you order something from Amazon, you get a little slip in the box, don't you? All you have to do is find that little slip in the box and begin to read what it says. It'll tell you what's inside the box. You match it up with what you've ordered. Is everything there? Can you see everything there? Well, then, that is the manifest that you're reading. And when I used to work in, I say when I used to work in retail, I still work in retail, but they call it a packing list. And it was in an envelope on the front. I knew what I ordered. And so when I read through the manifest, the packing list, if I was missing something, I would know because it's not on the list. And then I would cut that plastic off because I already knew what was in there. But how did I know? I am just confirming. The packing list is confirming what I did. As within, so without. I put that order together based upon what I needed on the shelf. And then when the delivery came, I matched what I ordered to what came. That is manifest. You have to see, because remember, what I ordered, right? What I ordered has to match what's delivered. That is manifest. To show. To manifest is to show. To show what? The contents from within. You travel on a plane, you travel on a cruise ship, they have a list. So if something happens and they have to find you, if your name is not on that list, you're not on that boat or that plane because your name isn't on the list. But if your name is on the list and they can't find you, well then. So you see, let us demystify manifestation, because all manifestation is to show the contents of what is contained within. Use the principle of correspondence now. Correspondence tells you as within, so without, as above, so below. So below, we have the manifest on paper. Correct? There you go. So above, where? Your mind's eye. Inside of you. So when you ask the question, what would I be doing if my problem were solved? You begin to show yourself something in your mind's eye. And at first, it is invisible to everybody else. It is visible to you because you are the one seeing it in your mind's eye. You're the one beginning to paint the picture to say, ooh, I would be doing dot, dot, dot. And you see that when I get that feeling, when you get the feeling, because it's the confirmation, the feeling is manifest. When you get the matching feeling to the thing inside of your mind's eye, well, that's what tells you you've manifested it. Where did you manifest it? Your neurological pathway. Here's an example. I give you this example all the time. Toastmasters. They go and they stand in front of each other and they learn how to speak in public. That's what they do. They learn how to speak in public. They have to hear themselves in their mind's eye first, you know? And once they start hearing themselves, they get up, they open their mouths, and what they've heard inside, they speak on the outside. You'll tell the ones who are nervous, you'll see them right away. But which one of us isn't nervous? And it's okay. But how do they overcome the nervousness? Practicing. And so the way that they get up and they practice it, this is why they tell you, do it the way you're going to do it. Rehearse it the way you are going to do it. Why? Because you're training your brain. And the way you train yourself is the way you will do it, is the way it will manifest. So if our problem is one of always complaining and walking with that umbrella that only rains on you, well, you've practiced that so much that that's all you walk with now is the umbrella raining on you. Don't rain on my parade. I digress. So you see, it does not matter the problem. The problem is irrelevant. So long as you answer the question, what would I be doing? Do you know what you're doing there? When you ask and answer the question, what would I be doing? You, my beautiful friends, are employing the principle of polarity. Polarity just means poles. You're swinging between two poles. Two poles. Either it's the left side or the right side. But only one thing is swinging, and that's you. So when you say polarity, it doesn't mean duality. It doesn't mean two things as an opposite. It means a pole left and a pole on the right. Because we move, yes? And we move between what? Cause and effect. So, identify the problem. And then you solve it. And how do you solve the problem? By asking, what would I be doing? Because now what you've done is you've polarized yourself. You have moved yourself from problem to the solution. You just came up with the solution. And the solution is what you'd be doing if that problem were solved. And when you do that, now you've polarized yourself in the direction of the solution. And you now begin to do what? Do it in your imagination the way you would do it in reality. That's why when you practice hurdles and your coach says, lift that leg, it's dragging. He knows something. He's telling you if you drag that leg in practice, you will drag that leg on the track. What you rehearse, you do. So if you rehearse looking at your problem and complaining about your problem, "Ah, how did I get here? Why does this happen to me all the time, Lord? Save me, Jesus." If you keep looking at your problem and never solving it, you will continue to have that problem because you have not employed the solution. Remember, every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. There's no cause, and then maybe there'll be an effect. No, every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. So if you have a problem, you have the solution. What is the solution? The solution is, what would I be doing if this problem were solved? That is the solution. And you begin to experience the solution in your mind's eye. Why? Because every time you experience the solution and you feel, because the feeling will follow the solution every single time. Yes? Remember, the feeling is the effect, and the effect has its cause. So every time you begin to experience in imagination the solution, you are setting down a neurological pathway inside your brain that you will follow. But you see, we give up as we begin to set down the pathway. How do I know? Because we stop doing it because we say, well, nothing has changed. It's still the same. It doesn't work. That's what we say. When in actuality, remember, it is repetition accompanied by feeling. Repetition will get you that pathway, yes. But repetition with feeling will get it for you sooner. You've met somebody who you just saw them across the room and then bam, you're like, oh, hello, you were moved. That was what we call an impression. Where was it impressed? Hmm? Impressed upon your where? Brain. And so now every time you think of that person, you have the same response. Why? Because you set down that pathway in your brain the moment you connected with them. And it wasn't a repeated action, it was a feeling. When you saw them across a crowded room, some people say, ooh, time stood still. Nah, they left an impression upon you. So the next time you say that, oh my God, they impressed me. But we could pull a Shania and say, that don't impress me much. We could say that. But it must have impressed you because you now speak about it. Do you understand? So it moved you to some capacity. So you see, you can solve your problem with a simple answer. To what question? What would I be doing? And you begin to experience in imagination what you would be experiencing in reality if that problem were solved. See, we can always solve the problem. Always. So now that you know what you're actually doing and what's transpiring behind the scenes, then persistence will not be a problem for you, will it? Persistence? Yes. Oh, and if this young feller did not persist in practicing his crowing on a daily basis, he would not be as strong and sure of himself today as he is. Oh, because you should hear them when they start learning to crow, they sound like kazoos. It's the cutest thing ever. But that's just to explain to you persistence. Because it is through your persistence that you set down the neurological pathway. When do you know that you set it down? When you can do it without a second thought. When it becomes what now? Second nature to you. When you can do it like the back of your hand. When you can do it with your eyes closed. That's how you know the neurological pathway has been set down. So now you will always act according to that, thereby bringing about the thing. Anyway, I trust that this makes sense to you today. So much so that you will apply it. Well, what else is the purpose of learning if not to apply what you've learned? You don't go to training just so you can not do the job. Hello? The purpose of learning is to apply what one has learned. But the power of learning is to choose what you want to learn so you can apply that thing. See, so we don't ever learn because, well, learning is yay. No, we learn because we will apply. Who's with us this morning? Oh, listen, let me tell you, YouTube and Facebook are bumping this morning. Hello? Ow. We've got uh, a Humane League. I see you. I think I know who that is. And then we have Ras Price. Oh. I don't know how to say your name. Milky Abiti? Is that how I say it? Milky Abiti. Is that? Mm, I don't know. I just want to get it right. Well, thank you. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, darling. Thank you. You're here from YouTube. Drop in the chat what country you're from. Because, you know, we worldwide now, right? Oh, we are, darlings, we are. And we've got people from Facebook as well as YouTube. It is lovely. Twitter, well, Twitter is as Twitter is for the replay gang. Fan base, who's with us this morning? Ooh. Oh, hello, Tiffany and Javion. I see you. Probably Javion's gone to school already. My sweet KZ, hello, darling. Ray Ray is in the house. Oh, if it isn't Miss McQueen. Aren't you sweet? You are, darling. Scotch bonnet. Ow. And anywho, Big Mike is in the house. Oh. And Commander is in the house. Listen, thank you all for being here. You are from Ethiopia. Ow. Well, well, well. Now, is that not where Haile Selassie was from? Was he not Ethiopian? If memory serves me correctly. What a pleasure and a privilege it is to meet you all the way from Ethiopia, darling. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. See? Ethiopia, eh? Let me see what else I know about Ethiopia. I do believe, if memory serves me correctly, birthplace of Christianity, one. Two, never been colonized, if memory serves me. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, it is glorious to meet you all, my lovely friends, especially at the crack of dawn, so early in the morning. But don't let me hold you up. Let me pop into the chat here real quick on Fanbase, just so I'm not missing any questions. So remember today, as you go out into this world, if you have a problem, you also have the solution. What's the solution? The solution is, what would I be doing if this problem were solved? You can answer that. So once you answer that question, You see, it brings a feeling of relief with it to know that, oh my goodness, I knew how to answer that question. I would be doing dot, dot, dot if I didn't have this problem. Good. Now, just like at Toastmasters, just like the coach on the track, rehearse the way you're going to perform that solution. In your mind's eye is where you rehearse it first, because as within, so without. When you rehearse, you lay down a neurological pathway in your brain. Everything that we do is a neurological pathway that we follow. Speaking, writing, the way we print, the way we sign our name, mm, the way we dance. It's all neurological pathways, things that we've learned. And we do what we learn. So if you learn to complain, well, you will master the art of complaining, will you not? Because comprehend, understand what complaining does. Because that thing you're complaining about feels, does it not? So that means that neurological pathway is set down. So if you're going to complain about that, you'll complain about that, and you'll complain about that, and you'll be complaining about that. Sounds like a habit, doesn't it? Doing the same thing the same way every time. So instead of complaining about the problem, solve it by asking, what would I be doing if I didn't have this problem? And when you answer that question, I'm going to say it again, rehearse what you'd be doing instead. And the more you practice, the more persistent you become in practicing, you're going to feel that feeling. Don't make me break out in Michelle Montano today. A feeling. No, you know what? Let me stop. But when you start to feel it, that's how you know it is taking root within you. And when that seed, that mental seed is planted, what happens? You give birth to the action. So today, my beautiful friends, know this. Every problem has a solution. You cannot have a solution if there was no problem. And you can't have a problem without a solution. Why? Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. That is just one thing you need to know. Not hope for, know. Anyway, don't let me hold you up. Go forth today and solve it. You know how to solve it now, and you know what's running beneath it as to why it works. Of course you do. I've said it to you this whole time. For how many minutes? 43 minutes I said it to you. Same way every time. It is up to you now to test yourself. I mean, you're not, and here's the thing, when we test ourselves, we don't test to say, told you couldn't. No, we test ourselves to see if we have followed it, the pattern. So if you test yourself and you're like, oh man, I came up a little bit short, go back to the drawing board. Where did you come up short? The coach will always tell you. I'm watching you running and you're leaning too much, you're rocking too much. Stay upright, stay in the pocket. And you go back and you come out of the blocks again and you run. You practice until you only get it right. And we all know the fun is in the practicing, don't we? I could name something where the fun is in the practicing, but no, you know what? Let me just, shh, let me just hush. I think you get the point. That's where the pleasure is in the practicing, because you already know how it's going to turn out. You already know how it will turn out because you've already solved the problem. So you might as well have a good time as you practice. Or else, who wants to practice if it's not a good time? Mm. Think about that. Remember, if you feel good when you practice, it happens faster, does it not? You set down that pathway faster, don't you? Yes, you do. Yeah. That's why I told you that story about me learning how to drive when I was a young whippersnapper at the age of 19. I got in that car and I did not turn on the ignition. And my driving instructor said, whenever you're ready. But back in that day, the car, when you turn the radio would come on. Like you could turn on that radio. And he turned on the radio. You got me feeling emotions deeper than I've ever dreamed of. That's the song that came on the radio. Do you know why I remember? Because it left an impression upon me. And I turned on that ignition, and who drove? I drove all the while singing. Okay. I sang. And it was a great time. So now, when I'm driving, I love to have music on so I can sing along. So you see, solve your problem. How? What would I be doing if my problem were solved? I would be doing, and you answer the question. And you rehearse it in your mind's eye because you're setting down your neurological pathway, the pathway that you will follow to do that thing in the real world. And the words of the gladiator, what you do in life echoes in eternity. Oh yes, my darling. So you might as well practice and take great pleasure in the practice because you know how it is going to turn out. And because you know how it is going to turn out, well, meh. That's why you have fun doing it. Anywho, I do love you. And I'll see you on the morrow because you know it's going to be Friday. Right here on YouTube. Where I'll see you, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, fan base. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you feel like waking up that early and coming and joining us and hanging out with me and Rue and Lady. Yes? Anyhow, much love to each and every one of you. Mwah, my darlings. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to you all. Much love.